I was quite reluctant to actually go forward with any of this type of funding because at first it was relatively unknown. It's like a healthy degree of skepticism whenever you're approached with something like this. And I think a lot of people who are considering going on to something like this will probably feel that. What I loved about Wayflyer and why we actually moved over to Wayflyer, we could have the funding straight into our account. And that was a big thing for us because in other funding that we've used, it hasn't been quite as easy. You had to go through a few hoops still. It's a bit busy. And the second thing is the rates are extremely competitive. Like we found that we were able to get a really reasonable rate. So those two reasons and the technology behind it was really seamless.
All right, welcome everybody to another Wayflyer Founder Series. I'm Paul Waddy. I'm a strategic advisor for Wayflyer. I'm also the author of Selling Online for Dummies and Shopify for Dummies. You can find me at paulwaddy.com. I'm really excited about today's guest because it's a product that's really cool, and definitely I've got my eye on an item or two. Chris, the founder of ElectricKicks, thank you very much for joining us today.
Good to be here, Paul. Thanks for having me. And
now
we're going to have to get you on that scooter soon.
Yeah.
Missing in your life, someone that's also pretty cool. So I'm told.
Yeah, if you need an e-commerce guy to whip around on scooters, I'll be your man.
I think it would match your brand. So yeah.
I love it. I will take you up on that. Firstly, the name ElectricKicks. How'd you come up with the name?
Oh man, I think, and I've started a few businesses in the past, and I think the naming is some of the harder. Actually, one of the harder things to get started to find a good name.
Yeah.
I think I initially had like buyelectricscooters.com.au or something generic and just kind of lame like that. But I mean, there's probably no special story with this one. I was literally just in the car with my parents, and I was explaining about, hey, I've got this cool idea. And I think how it came about was I didn't want to just pigeon myself into, say, just scooters or just this or that. It's something that encompasses the whole excitement of the industry that was really at its very infancy and still is. So electric, obviously everything we sell is electric, from the go-karts, the scooters to the electric dirt bikes and everything in between. And kicks. So kicks was the key word here. So kicks, kicking forward, momentum, movement, action. So it just sort of pieced together on a random day after sort of months of going, this or that. And yeah, when you know, and it's like when you walk into sometimes a house or that piece of clothing or whatever, you get that feeling where you're like, yep, this is it. So that's kind of how it started as far as the name. And then we built the brand around that. And yeah, that sort of went from there.
Well, I love it. I mean, the name's catchy. It's very cool. You've made scooters and e-bikes and things sound really cool, and they are. I'm just eyeing off the go-karts that you've got at the moment. They look pretty crazy.
Oh man, it's I mean, the industry is just it's such an exciting stage, and even back before the name, and this might be on the next phase to explore, but. The story for us before we even thought of the business connotation. My wife and I were in Paris, and before scooters were a thing in Australia, no one really was riding them, or they weren't even available as much. And we were walking through Paris, and we saw all these scooters just littered across the streets, and there were these lime scooters. We found out they were, but and limes are now a thing here, but. Back then, we were like, why is everyone leaving their scooters out on the front porch and things like that? Like, this is crazy. These French are insane. But we got and we asked someone, they're like, what's the deal here? So they go, oh, you tap on and you can ride the scooter anywhere. I'm like, have I died and gone to heaven? Because this is. So it was basically love at first sight. And we rode the scooters through Paris. We're going to drinks and cafes. And I'm just like, this is the best thing in the world. Yeah. So I got back home. First thing I did, before unpacking the bags, literally jumped on, somehow found a scooter on eBay, paid a fortune for it, and And I just was like, yes, okay, this is awesome. So again, still no business connotation. It's just the love of the product, and I'm riding it to work every day from Hawthorne to Richmond when I worked at digital agencies. And every single day, so it's about a 20-kilometer ride via scooter. And I'm like, man, this is just so nice. I'm not in traffic. I'm like literally sailing through straight to the office. And I would get to work feeling amazing. But on the way to work, I would get asked 20 times, not even exaggerating, 20 times a day, where did you buy that scooter? Where did you get it? People would stop at traffic lights, get out of their cars and yell at me and say, where did you get that? Elevators, walking on the sidewalk. It was nuts. So after about a couple of months of this, and I get that niggle, I get that itch, I'm like, okay, I've got to do something here. So ordered my first scooter from China, and it arrived amazingly. Sent money to China, it arrived, and sold it within 2 hours on Gumtree. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. There's something here. So then I took a bit of a plunge, and back then we didn't have a lot of money to scrap together, but I scrapped together about $8,000, which was a huge amount for me at the time. And I thought, okay, I'm going to buy 10 scooters. And the nervousness I got at the time with pressing that send button, because I mean, think about this. I don't know who I'm dealing with at this stage. So anyway, I'm buying 10 scooters. They somehow arrive, and I sold 10 scooters on eBay, and then 10 turned into 20, turned into 40, turned into 100, turned into 1,000. And now today, I'm proud to say we're the biggest electric scooter and ride company in the country. And yeah, we're just we sort of stemmed from there. So it really stemmed from a love of the product and seeing an opportunity to really share that with Australia. And look, that's sort of how it all started, and which ties into a bit of the name, because we're like, yep, let's put this forward as far as the brand and what we want to encompass as well.
Love it. I mean, it's a great story because it's an organic progression into product, which I think is really important. It wasn't really forced because, you were riding that scooter, you loved it, you were getting compliments on it. So the natural progression is to then get curious and see if you can sell them. And I think that's the right way to go about selling a product, as opposed to just forcing an idea to work.
I 100% agree. And like, if you're selling a product and it stems from that love of the product and the belief in the product too, yes. I mean, that's also the key. I mean, you can never sell anything really long term. Sorry, I have to let my dog out of the office. You can never really sell anything long term that obviously you don't believe in and can back wholeheartedly. Good advice there. I mean, you've got to go to bed dreaming about your product. You can't be I'm always saying you can't be going to bed dreaming about your Facebook ROAS. You got to dream about the product, because product drives everything, and brand interest drives everything. And you've certainly got really interesting product. I'm looking at the and for those listening, it's electrickicks.com.au, but the Segway Go-Kart Pro 40 k's an hour electric go-kart looks ridiculously cool. That is just, it's one of my favorite products. I mean, I have a lot of favorite products, and it's kind of like an adult candy toy land. It's just this go-karts in particular I mentioned, and this is a really good plug on the technology that's coming out these days. I mean, I remember back in the day, and you probably had similar experience, where we had the petrol go-kart, the noise, and look, I love that, and I wouldn't never change that, but the maintenance, the burning on the exhaust, and like these go-karts, I mean, they're adult and kid friendly. They have synchronized Bluetooth engines where you get the engine noise and you can drift on them. They have integrated apps. They have you can share your journeys, and it's super cool. And it's really opened a whole new market for these toys, of people being able to appreciate them. Yeah. And I mean, just even on the product development of the company, and I mean, even for the listeners, like it's interesting. You can start with one product or one sort of idea in mind, and how the business will evolve over years. You can look back and go, wow, it's a different company. Yeah. While still you can keep the ground roots and the DNA there. I mean, we started with one scooter, one type of scooter. And I remember at one stage, my whole lounge room was filled with scooters, and there's a photo somewhere on the side of my dog sitting outside these boxes of scooters, and we were navigating through them. We're like, okay, we've got to change up a bit here, and it was either get divorced or move into a warehouse and scale up like that. So I think I made the right decision there. So now we've scaled up to 3 warehouses across the country, and we're offering from one scooter model. We're now selling. It's around 12 scooter brands, 12 of the biggest brands in the world, including Segway, Apollo, Carbo. We're also selling electric dirt bikes, electric motorbikes, so road registerable electric motorbikes. And we've got a lot of interesting stuff happening in that scene. We sell electric e-bikes as well. So we've signed the biggest e-bike brand in the US, and now we're distributing that here. So yeah, it's really exciting to see the business also expand in the breadth of products. And I think even tying it back into the brand name and our inner DNA, that was the idea of ElectricKicks. It encompasses a broad range of this incredible technology that's really now taking over. And we are seeing even some of the diehard dirt bike fans and consumers who back in the day would have gone, no way am I going electric. Are you crazy? Like, now they're going, hang on, yeah, I'm going to try this, because we're seeing some of the products coming out now that are actually doing better than some of the petrol ones, and they're actually a lot higher acceleration, a lot higher specs, better products, and no noise. Which
very,
is cool.
very, very cool. I'm just now checking out the socials, and I'm picturing a really cool campaign with some drone footage and some GoPros and stuff. I think this really lends itself to some really cool videography. But love what you're doing. Love the product. 3 warehouses. It's obviously growing. What were you doing before? Before you mentioned the story about how you sort of first discovered the scooters in Paris and whatnot. What were you doing before this, Chris? What was your journey that took you to e-commerce and selling scooters online and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah. So I've always had a background in digital and tech, primarily digital marketing. So I started off, and I've had my own businesses over various periods of time, but I really, over the last, before I had ElectricKicks, I was working for some of Melbourne's biggest digital agencies, and that was an incredible experience as well. And working for an agency in particular, while they certainly have their challenges, I found the people that you get to interact with and the experience that you get there, even though it is relentless, you're able to gain a lot of skills very quickly. Yeah. So so Google ads, social ads, SEO, branding, and the full encompass of digital marketing, whether it's email marketing and everything in between. So I was able to take a lot of those skills when I started ElectricKicks, and I didn't have to pay an agency to kick off. I could design my own Shopify website. I knew exactly what to do in SEO. So that was a huge step and a huge benefit to that. So yeah, digital agency background has been some of my core focus as far as the working life prior to ElectricKicks.
Yeah, so you've already got those e-commerce fundamentals, which makes total sense now as to why you just needed that product fit, I guess, to use your digital expertise. You would be an early mover in this space. What are some of the challenges that come with that? Like, I can imagine, like, every man and his dog and woman going, these are cool, like, oh, great, but have there been barriers to getting people to try? Are there reluctance to try? What are some of the obstacles? How do you educate people that they're fun and safe and all those sorts of things?
Well, I mean, as far as obstacles, I think some of the challenge has been repairs and servicing concerns. Where can I get this repaired? Where can I get this serviced? That's certainly one of the things that is that certainly does separate us from a lot of our competitors. And our ability to service scooters, we've got about 15 repair partners around Australia. We have a servicing centre in Perth, and we're actually expanding our servicing options across Australia. I think customers want to be reassured that since they are spending a lot on this technology, like it's actually, I mean, it's not cheap by any means, but they want to be reassured that there are options for repairs and servicing. So that's one of the barriers. We have various states as well, which have different laws and regulations and things like that. That's been something we keep up to date with, and that's, we do sort of, come into from time to time. But we do find people are still, I mean, people buy them, they're very much in demand, and we do find cities adapting, albeit some cities are a little slower than others, but we are seeing the adaptation there, and the embracing of e-scooters, and obviously it's what people want and it's what they demand, and it's actually making cities more efficient, better traffic, and all the other benefits that come with riding an electric vehicle. So
the eco aspect, Chris, I mean, they're electric. Is there do you think that the eco-friendly movement is sort of helping you a little bit?
I do. I certainly do. There's while we don't push it and hammer it, it's definitely a positive byproduct of what we do. And even just back in the early days, I remember sailing through traffic and just looking over at the like lanes of cars backed up and fumes coming out, and here I am scooting across on this completely zero emission vehicle, and I'm just, I get to work feeling energized and happy, and that there's something certainly in that. And look, I absolutely agree. There is certainly an eco benefit there too, and that's one of the byproducts of what we do, certainly. But look, like any business scaling up, it is at times a roller coaster, but we've been able to do it. And I'm very proud of this. We are the highest rated electric scooter and ride company in Australia. So we've managed to get, so we got 5 stars out of 5 and close to 300 reviews in Google. But as a company, we're very proud of that. And as, one of the challenges, and certainly with any industry, as you'd know, customer service. And it's amazes me how many companies don't actually put this as their first priority. I remember sitting in my lounge room before we really scaled up, and I just said to myself, all right, we're going to be the best. I don't want to be the best at retail and bricks and mortar. That's not me. That's not us. With my background, and I've had a bit of background in client management and account management, we can be the best at customer service in our industry, and that's what we're going to double down on. And it actually tied back into when I was first riding my scooter, I would get asked, right, all the time. And guess what? Our customers are getting asked all the time. Where did you buy that scooter? Would they get a great experience? They say ElectricKicks. And, that's why as a company in our DNA and as what we have on our walls is customer service first. And that's really what's helped us scale. And look, it's difficult at times, but that's why that's great, because not everyone is doing it and we're doing it well. So that's
I can see that just reading through the reviews. It's obviously shining through as one of your value propositions. And while we're talking about how you started the business, what about where to from here and how you sort of continue to scale the business? Do you see this as a business that you will continue adding products to the catalog? Do you see this as a business that you said brick and mortar wasn't necessarily you? Do you see other channels that you might move into, other countries that you might move into? Where do you see your next steps, Chris?
Great. Yeah, great question. And certainly being ElectricKicks as our brand and as our values, we're constantly expanding our product range, which is really exciting. Australia is and the world is at a really fascinating time with this type of product. And that's certainly spot on. Like we'll be expanding our product line, especially over the next 6 months to 12 months. We're going to be seeing some electric stuff like electric surfboards, We're actually getting them in. We're testing a new model now. Yeah, it's super cool. Just in time for summer. The electric.
How do electric surfboards work?
So they're also called e-foil is one of the names that you may have heard. So there's a few models, but the one we're looking at is actually hovering above the water and has a propeller underneath the water, and it's all controlled with a thumb throttle. So you can actually go up to about 55 k's an hour on an electric surfboard, which is super cool. Yeah, I can't wait for this. We actually haven't tested our prototype yet, but we're in the process of just finding a warm day to get out there.
Let me know if you need volunteers, Chris.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. We'll get you on the progression. We start with a scooter, we'll go to a go-kart, and then we'll get to the surfboard.
That's the subscription model. All right.
Well, interesting you say that. And you mentioned expansion. Yeah, spot on. We're looking at New Zealand next year as well. There's a lot of demand. We get asked every day, can you ship to New Zealand? Can you ship to New Zealand? They're probably about 2 years behind Australia as far as what they have access to. So for us, that's something we really want to jump into. It's just we want to get our base. There's a lot of things we want to do here, but that's on the cards for next year. Other products, yeah, there's definitely some very interesting things happening in electric motorbikes, electric road bikes. The scooter industry is, and bring it back to our core, obviously, which is scooters. Wow, like some of this technology has gotten just insane. I mean, you see big brands like Segway. They started off with a little kick scooter, which is it's actually called the ES2, was one of the most famous ones. Now we're seeing, and look this up, the Segway GT. It's a monster. I mean, this thing is like a car, but it's got indicators, 75 k an hour. It's just an amazing piece of technology. It's got a see-through display. What we're seeing, though, is scooter companies like Segway and like some of the big brands evolving to meet safety requirements for more people getting out there in public. So we're seeing indicators, we're seeing better lighting, we're seeing smart technology, AI technology coming into it. And you'll see more of that smart technology being integrated over the next 6 to 12 months. We're seeing better batteries. We're seeing longer battery life. I think we're starting to move slightly away from going 110 k an hour. There's still a market for that. And we do have scooters that go 110 k an hour, but the trend is coming to more towards the commute and I'm gonna put my car to the side and I'm gonna use my scooter.
Yeah. I've actually heard that a lot, particularly in inner Sydney, people sort of saying, well, I don't need a garage because I won't have a car anymore in the future. And that's, and I do actually feel, I don't have any data to back this up, but just anecdotally, I do feel like, particularly the younger generation, that's sort of where they're going. They're like, no, I don't need a car. And I guess, why would you if you can whip around on these pretty cool things?
I completely agree, and we are actually seeing that. I mean, some of our customers, a portion of our customers, are saying, like, I'm actually selling my car. I'm going to use this as my day to day, and it's great because it's affordable, it's sustainable, it's you can get through traffic quicker in some areas, and like it's a lot more fun. So, and they can use a go-get or they can hire a car on a weekend. So yeah.
I love what you're doing here. I love an early moving product, but I want to. I'm curious to know, Chris, how you came across Wayflyer and how they fit into your business. And there'll be people listening who would know Wayflyer and others who wouldn't. Maybe you could sort of tell us a bit about why you came to them, why you use them, and how you use them. How do you use them to basically grow your business?
Sure. Yeah. And look, as the team knows at Wayflyer, we're actually a big advocate of Wayflyer. We discovered, actually, from Wayflyer, one of Wayflyer's competitors, that there's a few that have approached us over the years, and I was quite reluctant to actually to go forward with any of this type of funding because at first it was relatively unknown. It's like, oh, you want to a healthy degree of skepticism whenever you're approached with something like this. And I think a lot of people who are considering going on to something like this will probably feel that. So we actually, I interestingly, with when we first started, it was with Wayflyer's competitor, and I actually called around. I looked up other CEOs and other business owners who had used the competitor. I said, okay. I actually went and talked to them and said, oh, what's it like? And they said, oh, yeah, give it a try. It's good. We've used it. It's okay. But here are some of the things you should look out for. So anyway, we gave that a try. We like the model. I really love the model of the funding based on analytical data, inventory. You know, you try and go to a bank, and we had gone to a bank and we had been successful in getting funding there, but very limited, very difficult, very time consuming, a lot of red tape, very annoying. And like, it's not based on, oh, here's your balance sheet. Sure, that tells one story, but the data and the analytics and that depth and that artificial intelligence, which they can look and predict, that tells a real story. But so anyway, so we're with one of the competitors, and look, it was good at the time. However, we had reviewed some of the things in the process, and we actually during that time we were approached by Wayflyer, and I was sort of like, okay, yeah, we're using one of your competitors, but we'll hear you out. And from that, what I loved about Wayflyer and why we actually moved over to Wayflyer, we could have our funding straight into our account, and that was a big thing for us, because in other funding that we've used, it hasn't been quite as easy. You had to go through a few hoops still. You had to sort of do an online platform and verify. Anyway, it was a bit busy. And the second thing is the rates are extremely competitive. I mean, it's very, like, we found that we were able to get a really reasonable rate. So those two reasons, and the technology behind it was really seamless. So that brings us to today, where we've actually been using Wayflyer for, I think it's around 4 months now, and we're very happy with how it all works. And inventory funding and this type of funding model, it's the future. It's absolutely the future. And look, it's really going to disrupt a lot of the banking and the banking industry, because they're just behind. They're behind on this. It offers a solution which, and certainly for us, has allowed us to scale even more than what we would have. I mean, we're on a pretty good trajectory as far as our revenue and our forecasting, but working with Wayflyer has allowed us to scale even further. We're looking 3, 4, 5x, and it's coming up now. We're in the Christmas period, 2022. Yeah, I mean, it's allowed us to really make the most of some of these busier periods. And yeah, look, to summarize, I would certainly recommend anyone considering it to give it a go. And also, before that, what I found was really good is that I mentioned I had called a number of people who are using these services and had used these services before. If anyone's out there considering these services, go and do that. Pick up the phone, call myself, call. They've got a list of people on the Wayflyer website. Pick up the phone, give these companies a call, say, hey, what did you think of using Wayflyer? That's what you're going to get some really great information from. And certainly for us, I would wholeheartedly recommend it.
Yeah, great. I mean, that's a glowing endorsement. And it's funny for me to hear founders like you speak so positively about a finance experience. And yeah, I'm sure you've probably had similar experiences. But back when I first started my e-commerce career and importing men's footwear, I think I went to a couple of the big banks, and they were like, e-commerce, what? what? And then you had to mortgage a property and so on, and it was simply not possible. And now what I'm hearing all the time from people that use Wayflyer is, it took a couple of days, money was in my account. Wayflyer feels great about it because they plug into the Shopify store, so they can pretty much see where you're going. So it's kind of a win-win, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you mentioned as well, and I did touch on it too, like the experience of going through a bank, you come out feeling a little jaded sometimes. You're like, oh man. But with Wayflyer, because there's that transparency and that open, like, it's all there, it's all clear, and it's very quick as well.
Yeah.
Like I found it a very quick process, and I didn't feel like, why are you here? Like the bank, it's like, why are you here? You want our money? Why?
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
Well, guys, we've got a great business. We're scaling. Can you support us?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. We'll see. And then, whereas Wayflyer, it's like, cool, come on in. Let's have a look at what we can do. And we're happy to see where we can support you. So, yeah, look, I mean, I am, as I said, a big advocate. I actually get excited talking about it because I know there's a lot of other founders and a lot of other companies that it can really help. And it can really help them scale. Even if you're doing great already, cool. Let's 3x that, let's 5x, 10x, whatever you need to do, right? And that's going to set you ahead.
That's a really good point. It's even if you don't think you need it, you can use funding to really take your business to the next level. It shouldn't always be too late. Like, I need it desperately. You could get on the front foot, buy more inventory, spend on marketing, get better, pay up front your suppliers, get a 5% discount on paying up front, and all sorts of ways that you can leverage finance.
100%. And you pay it back when you get paid from your customers. I mean,
so that's that revenue-based model where as sales come in, you're sort of paying it off without realizing. And when sales slow down, so do your repayments, which is incredibly fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's a partnership that we will value, and it's a partner you can actually grow with as you grow. So that's where we see our relationship with Wayflyer growing as we scale further and further. So.
I love it, the fact that it's a partnership. Hey, Chris, something I write about in my book is taking your time to find the right product. And I think a lot of people don't. So a lot of people come to me and sort of say, I've just launched my Shopify store. Have a look, and I look, and there's like 3 T-shirts on there or something. And you think, it's great. But what would your advice be to somebody who's like, they want to try e-com and they're thinking about a product, they're on Alibaba, they're doing all those things. From that product point of view, what would your advice be?
I love this question. Again, this is another one I'm very passionate about. So and again, I mentioned back before about my experience in digital and my experience at a marketing agency. So yes, you've got a great idea, you've got a great product which you think people want, and they may just. But let's look at first what does the data say on that? Is there any data you can pull? And that could be from a number of sources, but this is where people neglect, I think, which actually needs the most time spent, is in the data analysis and what you can bring up. Now, for me, it was about, I could actually leverage a lot of software, which I knew how to use, and I knew what software to pull. I could actually find out what people were searching for. So yes, it started with a love of the product, and I actually got a lot of verbal cues on, yes, I want that. Cool. I'm going to test the market with 1. I'm not going to buy 1,000 at first. I'm going to test the market. Cool. That sold within 2 hours. Okay. That's giving me another indicator. 10. Yes, I was nervous clicking 10. I'd still get nervous when I'm ordering 1,000 units, and that costs us, a fortune. But 10, whether it's 10, 15, you keep getting indicators. So next I was able to look at what data is available for me. So search engine data. Is there any search data at the moment? How do you find that? Well, there's some great tools out there you can actually leverage for that. You can go through and see. And that's what also I'll mention as well, that's what, once you get a good product fit, which starts to get a bit of traction, that's how you can scale that. You can look at what people are typing in. You can optimize your product pages for that. You can optimize your keywords. You can actually look at, as a company, we're really a data company as well at heart. All the decisions we make, we take data into account and our experience. So, for example, we're able to look at what products are actually trending overseas. We're able to gather that data, and we're able to actually go and make buying decisions based on that. Look at data. Try and get it any way you can, whether it's picking up the phone and talking to people, whether it's asking people, whether it's looking at search engine tools. Put up a T-shirt, but that's only like, buy 1 T-shirt and sell it and see how that goes. Then tell me, okay, I'm going to buy more. Don't go and buy hundreds.
I think flick to my book here because I think it's chapter 2. I talk about data-led buying. It's starting with like Google Trends. It's starting with checking what's trending on Amazon and eBay and all those, Alibaba, and then great tip about using some keyword research tools and really getting into. I mean, we're a data company. You said, I think you nailed it. It's since the dawn of time, commerce is about supply and demand, and I think it's fair to say that you're an advocate of data-led buying, right?
Spot on, absolutely. And one of the challenges, and I'm sure I'm looking forward to reading your book. Maybe we'll do a swap for a scooter.
I'll lock you into that.
I'm looking forward to, and I'm sure it's a part of your book as well. One of the challenges, and I often ask myself, why don't people look more into this? And it's because it takes time, and time is hard. It's hard to carve out. It's hard to carve out that deep work, but you do that, and that's where the magic happens. And it may not happen straight away, but hours. I mean, as you know all too well, the hours you need to put in, the late nights. I mean, I was working 2 jobs at one stage. I would work till 1. I'd pick up the phone for 2 companies, right? And but you have to do that. And if you're not willing to do that as a business owner, people listening right now, there's someone like me that is, and someone like Paul that is, and you're just going to have to compete with that. So, get out there, look at the data, read the books, read your book. Take that all in, because there's a lot you can do, and a lot
I'm loving this, and I hope that people are listening to these tips, because someone asked me last week, what's one thing that people don't know about e-commerce? And my answer was, it's hard. And also people say, start before you're ready. No way. Yeah, if you want to lose a lot of money. But I actually go the other way and say, wait till you've got that product. Wait till you've done the research, and then you'll know when the time to go.
Then you double down. You can double down. And scaling e-commerce, you hit the nail, because, yes, it's hard. And look, we've scaled beyond what a lot of companies in our industry. Actually, we are, as I mentioned, we are number 1 in Australia. But the reason is we've managed our risk at each step. We didn't just go straight in and buy 100 scooters and go, we're going to sell them. I've seen people do this. People have approached me to buy their scooter brands, and I've been like, no. Yeah. And they said, oh, but I've got 160 units. We don't like the product. So absolutely.
I think just on that topic, there's another key learning there for people listening, which is, you said it earlier, it's test and learn. I bought 10. I see how that goes. Then I buy 20, and then it gets to 1,000. Way too many. And I'm going to put my hand up and say that at 23 years of age, when I first started, I did this. I said, what's your minimum? Oh, 1,000. I'll take them. And I was stuck with them for quite a while. That was shoes.
Spot on, man. Like, you can actually, and look, again, another piece of advice, you can negotiate with all these suppliers. You can say, no, I want a sample. I want 5 samples. And that's where people get burnt. And look, you mentioned it many times, and I mentioned it too. E-commerce is hard. It's hard at every step. Scaling, and you see, as you scale, every percentage matters. And we're talking about credit card fees. That 0.01%, that matters, because that's thousands of dollars. But even at the early stage, which some people may be, get it, build sustainably, build your company, and have those core values. Like, seriously, customer service. I mean, I'd love to see better customer service out there. We just double down on stuff like that. And as you said as well, Paul, data-driven. Just be data-driven. Learn it. There's plenty of courses out there. Read books. Go and do it.
YouTube, read books, take courses, ask questions, 100%. And it's take your time to learn it. And like I always say, I've got this example of saying, just because I can find the timing belt in my car, it doesn't mean I should try and change it. Yes. The same goes with e-commerce. Just because you can open a site in a day, it doesn't mean you should go ahead and do it. You've got to give it due respect and learn the trade and learn the fundamentals. And that's really, I think, what you're talking about today.
Man, spot on. And look, as we've scaled, it literally started with me, and I was wearing all the hats. A lot of people will be going through this, and it's like, cool. Well, every time I've actually tried to plug, we've had new staff on, great. So they're going to help me with that area, which I'm not quite as good at as them. And then the next person. So, as you're hiring and scaling as well, that will happen, but you need to just build that base sustainably and grow. And look, even back to Wayflyer, like, you get the base right, you get some analytics through, you get some data, you get some sales, you start to get momentum. That's where Wayflyer can help down the track. And that's where that sort of will tie in as well. But yeah, there's a lot out there you can grow and learn, and the beauty is it's all available, it's all there. Yeah. So you just have to spend the time.
Spend the time. Chris, this has been a real e-commerce masterclass, particularly on sourcing product, and I'm really glad that we went through that, and I certainly hope that people are listening, because I think we're on the same page here. Cool. Chris, we've hit our time, but I could certainly go on for a lot longer, because I think that we're talking about ElectricKicks, we're talking about your journey, but we're talking about good business fundamentals that businesses new and existing can really take a leaf out of your book, and you imparted some really wise words there. And so I remind everybody, electrickicks.com.au, check it out. It's one of the coolest businesses I've seen in quite some time. And I wanted to say a big thanks, Chris, the founder of ElectricKicks, for joining us on the Wayflyer Founder Series. Thanks, Chris.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me, Paul. It's been great to chat to you. And anytime, just feel free. We'll catch up, I'm sure, down the track. Talk business, talk scooters.
I love it.